and welcome back to the Daily Dog Walk. So far we've talked about childhood, about narcissistic parents, about the impact of growing up in toxic dynamics. But today we're talking about what happens when it doesn't stop. Katie shares how those patterns followed her into adulthood and how they affected the final years she had with her mum, who passed away last year. This isn't just about grief, it's about being robbed of time because of family dynamics that never really ended. For some people, the abuse doesn't stop at childhood. It just changes shape. Just going to give a brief recap, because last time we spoke, we talked about your childhood and you shared some details around your father, and specifically that incident when he punched you, and then you were talking about the therapy that you had as well when you didn't realise it was as bad as it was.
Yeah,
really. So, but your mum passed away last year, didn't she?
Yeah, a year ago.
Yeah. And I don't know, what I wanted to ask you about that was, obviously that was a really difficult time for you, but, leading up to that, you painted the picture, didn't you, about, your mum and your sister and them having a relationship and you kind of being pushed out the car.
Yeah.
That was the analogy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There's a car.
Yeah, it can only fit so many people in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last year that she was was taken from me. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But your dad's, did he try and make an effort with you in that time?
No. So he would have been part of it, getting the attention from my sister and all the drama around that. They love all that.
Yeah.
Something going on. Someone to hate. They love it, they thrive on it, they live for it. So Dad was fully in it, and he's sitting there listening to my sister tell him, oh, Katie told me you hated me. She told me not to speak to you, which is, of course, ridiculous and nonsense.
Yeah.
So during that time frame, I mean, the 8 years before that, when I was talking to my sister, anytime Mum and Dad come up, she was the one who was most hateful. Right. She was she would say vile things about my dad and him dying. And at first, I would just be like, just don't say it, stop saying that, just because it's not nice to know who it is. Yeah. But, over time, I'd just joke with her about it because it was the easiest way to just end that. And she had a lot of hate. And then there was times where I'd talk about Mum and how Mum was a victim in it all. And Teresa would say to me, and I've got messages where she said, I remember Mum doing this to you, Mum doing that to you. She was an abuser too. You need to get away from her, trying to get me away from my mum. And it was always me that defended Mum. But then Teresa's narrative now, because she's changed her delusional narrative, is that I kept her away from them. Right. Not that she stayed away from them for 10 years to keep herself sober, but I kept her. And that whenever she brought them up, I said, they don't want to know you, which is nonsense. None of it makes any sense because I would send her things from Mum and I would tell Mum, Teresa bought you that, or take flowers and go there from Teresa. So I was keeping that connection there.
Yeah, so you weren't keeping her away at all. No. You were trying to.
And I always told her, if you want to speak to them, I will support you. Yeah. But I did agree with her husband at the time that it wasn't best for her because she's better to stay sober away from my mum who was drinking and my dad who was still the same.
Yeah. Do you think your dad was a big trigger for your sister?
Oh, massive, still is.
Yeah.
No matter what she says in his life now, he still is. And I'll tell you how I know that for sure. But so basically, she's saying, oh, Katie told me you hated me, and which is just all rubbish. So my dad's sitting there thinking, taking it at face value.
Yeah.
And then she's saying, oh, I sent you things, Mum, but she never told you. Now, my mum knew, but she never told my dad. Right. Because she knew he'd kick off or it would hurt him that she didn't say anything for her dad. So Mum never told him. So she can't now stand in front of this man and say, well, actually, she did tell me.
Right.
Because she's surrounded by these toxic people.
Yeah.
She's the one there. So she just didn't say anything. I mean, that's what she's been trained to do her whole life.
Yeah.
So that kind of backs up with my dad.
Yeah.
Oh, God, she never told you. Wow, what an awful person this Katie is.
Yeah.
So, it just, and then, Dad would feed off that and Teresa would feed off Dad and it just, my poor mum was just stuck in the middle of all of it like she always has been. So Mum's just stuck in the middle of it all. and that's the thing with them. They feed off each other because they're the same. They feed off each other, and then her husband's worse than all of them. And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And the lie gets so big that nobody bloody knows what the truth is anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And during all of that time, I chose to just walk away from it because I'm not...
Protect your peace.
Yeah. I'm not giving them my power. I'm not being dragged into their little drama and arguments. I have more important things in my life than their little dramas, you know? And I just don't have the energy. I don't even have the energy for it. They obviously don't work because they wouldn't have the energy, would they? For all this drama.
When did you kind of walk away from that then?
Well, Mum and Dad went off to the States in March, and I went round to see them. And at this point, I didn't know all this was going on. It was all going on behind my back, and I didn't know. I had no idea Teresa was talking to them. All I know is that Teresa had started acting weird with me, and I decided to walk away from her because I could see she was turning into her, you know, one of her episodes or whatever. So I'd already walked away from her, and then Mum and Dad told me one day when I went round there, we're going to see your sister in the States. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I know what she's like. I know what her husband's are like. I knew from that point that I wouldn't be seeing my mum and dad anymore. And I also know the whole car scenario, and, you know, when she's in, I'm out, you know, and that's how it works with them.
Yeah.
So I knew that would be it. And I remember standing as I walked out the gate and looking at my mum, and I said to them, I'm probably not going to see you anymore. And my dad went, oh, don't be silly, you know. And my dad actually said to me, you know, we know what a cow your sister is, you know, but she's our daughter. We need to go see her. He was like, but our loyalty's with you. And I thought, you don't even know what loyalty is. So whatever. And I looked at my mum, and I looked her dead in the eyes, and I went, bye, Mum. And she went, oh, stop, like that. But I could see it in her face already. She'd already started switching off because she knew she had to. So, and then I guess a month later, they come back from the States. My daughter goes round there, and they're kicking off about all this stuff my sister said, and these deep private conversations we'd had as sisters about our upbringing. My sister had printed off, but very cleverly printed off only my half, and showed to Mum and Dad to make it look like I'd been bad talking them, when it was really just, I mean, it was all real. There was nothing in that wasn't true.
Yeah.
It was just deep conversations.
It's confronting for them, isn't it? And
it was hurtful for them.
Yeah.
Because they're not ready to hear it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. They're not ready for it. Yeah.
And my mum held a lot of shame and guilt around it, which none of us really knew.
And they weren't going to validate any of that either. They're not going to turn around and say, oh, yeah, you're right.
You're right, we did do all of that.
Yeah.
We're so
No.
Because Dad will never see that he's done anything wrong. That's why he's not in my life now. Because he's no different. Yeah. He would never see he's done wrong. If
why
he
do you think
to
your
me,
sister... Sorry,
go on.
Why do you think your sister did that? What was her...
Who knows? She's crazy. Who knows what goes on in there? I remember saying to my niece once, we were talking about it, and she's like, I just don't understand why. And I'm like, that's good.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't understand why they do what they do, that's because you're different.
Yeah.
And just be thankful for that. Yeah. Be thankful that you don't understand why they do what they do. And I will never understand it, and I'm so glad of that. Yeah. Because nobody wants to know what's going on in there.
Yeah.
You know? Nobody wants to go in there and see what is going on.
It's crazy though, isn't it? It's like,
I know. I just honestly, I think it came from in the November before, and we were so close, me and Teresa. I thought we were, but it was all just pretend. Obviously, whatever delusion she was living at that point, because that's what narcissists do. They live in their little fantasy world, and everyone's got to feed into it. And if you don't, you're gone.
Yeah.
And in the November, she'd found a picture on her husband's phone with him with another woman taking a selfie.
Oh, okay. I think you mentioned this one.
Yeah. And
he said he was in a restaurant.
And he said it was a waitress in a restaurant. But you can clearly see a changing room in the background.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
And so I said to Teresa, that's not true. Look, there's a changing room in the background. Yeah. She's clearly tried something on a shop and they're taking a picture. So she confronted him. At that point, he's like, okay, he's got to go. Right. I strengthened her. I built her up. I gave her confidence. She's got to go. And then maybe somehow in her mind, she's thinking, I'm going to stay with him and believe him because they need to live in that toxic, nasty environment. Yeah. And it's what they know and it's what they thrive on.
So instead of believing her sister...
She got rid of me too. Because she's like, how am I going to now sit in front of Katie's face and say, oh, no, he did this, he did that? Because Katie's not stupid. She knows he's full of it and he's been screwing around. Right?
Yeah.
So in both their minds, I had to go.
Yeah.
So they found a way to justify that. And I truly think Teresa believes all this in her head because that's her new little delusion she's living in, you know. I was wrong. I thought the poor way she treated people in life was from her trauma. It wasn't. She's just the same as Dad. And I got sucked in. But it's okay. It won't happen again.
Yeah. Do you not speak to her at all now?
No. As far as I'm concerned, she died when my mum did.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, she did rob you of that the whole year.
Yeah, and she didn't need to do that. She could have seen my mum and not done that and not taken, because really what she did was take me from Mum, because Mum had a very lonely life here. My dad was gone all the time. He never spent any time with her. And then by the time he came home, she'd drunk herself into a state where she had to go to bed, and she had no life. She was miserable and lonely and sad.
Did you try and talk to her?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. And how did she respond to that?
Yeah, towards the end, before Teresa, but when she was getting older, she would open up a bit more. And she definitely got more angry about Dad and his ways than tell me that,
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it was all starting to dawn on her. And I think she'd seen enough times where I'd made decisions and changed my life because I wasn't going to tolerate stuff, that I think it strengthened her.
Yeah.
Or made her think at least about her life. And we talked a lot about that. And she did tell me she was really lonely. And
did she say anything about the messages that she saw?
I never spoke to her again about it after that. So she come back from the States and her and Dad had a go at my daughter about it. And I was like, I'm done. And I walked away. But they never tried to speak to me again. They made it very clear they didn't want to speak to me anymore. And they didn't want nothing to do with me. And they told my daughters that. And my daughters were going over there shouting and screaming and arguing with them and saying, this is insane. Like, how can you believe this? But my dad's at the point now he wants to feed into it and believe it. Because he's a narcissist also, and this suits him. He gets to go to the States and have people spend money on him, Yeah. So he went along with it, and Mum, she just does whatever he says,
Yeah.
So at that point, and I don't doubt that she was hurt by the things she saw written down, because they're things she didn't want to hear. The only things I ever said about my mum was about her drinking and how bad it had gotten. And she didn't want to hear that.
Yeah.
So I'm no doubt that Teresa absolutely broke my mum's heart in that last year. She completely broke her heart because me and Mum were so close, and I was in her life every day. I was the one here when Mum was lonely. I was the one with her every weekend, every day. So then she had to come back from America, and she didn't have that, and she was completely isolated and alone. And Teresa did that to her because of her selfishness. So I didn't see any of them from that March. I didn't see my mum. And then in the September, Mum had a stroke. But what happened was Tess took her to hospital because her sight went.
Right, okay.
And Tess had sat there 18 hours in A&E with her. And eventually she called me and she went, will you come up? Like, I've got to go.
Yeah.
And I don't want to leave her alone. She's really scared.
Yeah.
And so I said, does she want me there? And she said, I've spoken to her. She's fine.
Yeah.
And I went and I walked in and I was like, hi, Mum. And she was like, hi. And she was a bit weird, because she was scared, but also didn't know what to say to me. She was hurt. So I just sat down silently. And then I was there about 36 hours with her. And over that time, there was a point where it was freezing. We were under an air conditioning vent. So I leant on the bed and they come put a blanket around me. And then she just put a hand on my shoulder. And that was where I was until she was released. I just stayed with her. So I stayed with her for that whole time while she was poorly. And there wasn't a lot of talking about it, but we would just like giggle and, I'd try and make her feel better and I'd be there with the doctors and stuff. And then she actually had her stroke. Tess came back to the hospital when she'd had some rest, and she actually had her stroke while we were there.
Right, okay.
So we were trying to give her some medication, and Tess was actually holding her, which has been really traumatic for Tess. And she had the stroke. And we told them she had a stroke, and they wouldn't listen to us. But she fell asleep. When she woke up, she didn't know who we were.
Oh.
And she got really angry. And she kept going.
Because you were there?
Yeah. And she got really angry with us, like, get away from me, like we were hurting her. And she was really confused. And then she fell back to sleep. And when she woke up, she was back again.
Oh.
So, but over the next couple of weeks while she was in there and they were doing tests and looking at her, a couple of times, one day I went to walk out and Mum burst into tears, and this is when she was still completely with it, and I was like, what's wrong? And she said, I messed up, didn't I? And I was like, no, it's okay, Mum. She went, no, I did, I messed up. I knew who was who, and I messed up, and I should have listened. And I was like, Mum, it's okay. And she went, it isn't. And she just sobbed, and I had to sit back down because she wouldn't stop crying.
Do you think so? Was she referring to basically listening to your sister?
And she knew who Teresa was. She'd always known.
Yeah.
You know, so she'd realised that who was who, and you know, I'm the one sitting next to her bed now. You know, and she's like, what have I done? And I was like, it's okay, I'm here now. And she was like, but I lost you. I'm like, I'm here now.
In the next episode, Katie continues her story, and we talk about what happened after that moment, how they found their way back to each other, and how she feels now about the time that was lost and the time they managed to reclaim. Join us for the final part.